Peace, everybody. Just waiting for my brother, Minister Freedom, to tune in so we can add on. Will that everybody's having a positive, progressive day. I definitely am. This week, I'm on the tail end of a 7-day clarity cleanse that was organized by one of my god brothers down in Atlanta, Allah's Garden, by the name of Rashan Allah. And I may have mentioned it here or there on one of my videos, but my diet is pretty strict considering the type of diets that the average person has. I eat one meal a day, and I've been doing that for over a decade. At one point, I was eating once every other day, and I did that for about 3 months just to push myself and to test my limits, as well as to study the benefits of caloric restriction and intermittent fasting. So I'm always striving to learn various different things about myself. And recently, with this 7-day clarity cleanse, I've learned some other things about myself, even though, like I said, my diet is pretty strict considering the standard diet that other people have. So the way that the clarity cleanse worked is Monday last week at around 5 p.m. I ate a salad, and that was the last time that I ate until Thursday of that week. I ate another salad at the same time, 5 p.m. Those 3 days, I didn't do anything but drink water. And the purpose of that is to flush your system, to strive to not only give your digestive system a rest, but also to remove the toxins from your body that's in everything that we consume. There's some degree of toxins. So then after those 3 days of fasting, the last 3 days, I just went right back to my standard one meal a day diet, which is plant based primarily. So it was real good for me because a lot of times I'm very, very involved in a lot of things, and I may not give myself a chance to rest like that. So, in terms of intermittent fasting, caloric restriction, one of the things that's important is, like I mentioned, we have to give our digestive system a rest. When you look at a standard American diet and you think about 3 meals a day, a lot of the diet that we have adopted here in Western society is the child of Westerners. Yeah, there's various different contributions from other cultures that have become a part of an American diet, but the American diet primarily is the child of Westerners. And when you look at a lot of the diets of Westerners, you have a lot of dairy. You also have a lot of meat. And think about this for a second. You get up in the morning and you eat a great big old breakfast with meat as the centerpiece of that breakfast. it takes your body some time to digest that meat. And then if you're combining foods that shouldn't be combined, it's going to take your body even longer to sift through and filter the various different things that are necessary to break down that food. And like I said, if it's meat, that's going to take some time to actually digest. So while your body, your digestive system is working, your digestive system is working on breakfast, lunchtime is rolling around. And by the time lunchtime rolls around, you're still digesting breakfast, and here you are putting another meal inside of your digestive system. By the time you get to dinner, breakfast has been processed through your digestive system and it's working on lunch. Now you're putting dinner in there. And if you have a late dinner, that means your digestive system is going to be working overtime. Your digestive system is going to be working at nighttime while you're supposed to be literally resting. When does your body get a break? That would be equivalent to you working in a factory 24 hours a day. How long do you think you can keep that up? So a lot of times the different illnesses or the dysfunctions that we see are preventable. The hypertension, the high blood pressure, the high cholesterol, a lot of these other different things are the direct result of a poor diet and a sedentary lifestyle, because a lot of times people are like sediment. They're not very active. And with that lack of activity, they also are not getting proper circulation. So diet is very, very important, and it's vital to our growth and development and our ability to be good conduits of consciousness. And as conduits of consciousness, we have to be sharp and we have to be clear in terms of how we're going to attend this world and to have a positive, progressive mindset. A lot of times we may not be in the right state of mind, or we may feel a certain type of way because our diet, the things that we put inside of us, and the things that we put inside of us are going to come out of us at one point or another. So there are times that we have to give our body a rest. Fasting is a very good way of giving our body a rest and making sure that we're hitting that reset button and we're giving ourselves an opportunity to remove some of the toxins that are in our body that comes along with anything that we ingest. And that's just the physiological aspect of fasting. But there's also the emotional aspect or the mental aspect of fasting as well. Because along with going through that process of removing actual toxins from the body, you're also going through a mental or emotional process of removing those type of toxins as well. So it's a very good positive thing. Like I mentioned, this is something that I've been doing for quite a while in terms of eating one meal a day, and then every now and then I fast in addition to just eating one meal a day. And like I said last week, I did a 7-day clarity cleanse with my brother Rashawn Allah, who's down in Atlanta, and it was excellent. So again tonight we're going to be having my brother Minister Freedom on. I saw that he came in briefly, so he'd probably be logging back in soon. And I wanted to build with him because he's a younger brother that has knowledge of self, and he's out in D Mecca, aka Detroit. And as a younger brother, he's been very involved in community outreach and youth advocacy. And that's something that you oftentimes don't see with a lot of our younger people. And it's a beautiful thing because he's reminiscent of a lot of the younger people that we've seen in every one of our movements and struggles for freedom, justice, and equality. It wasn't always a bunch of elders who were leading the charge. You look at organizations like SNCC or the All People's Revolutionary Party, All African People's Revolutionary Party. You look at the Panthers, you look at all of these other different organizations, and it was the young people who were leading the charge. And whenever you see younger people who are standing up for freedom, justice, and equality, and they're doing this type of progressive work in our communities and especially amongst our youth, not only is that a ray of light or hope, but it gives you evidence of a brighter future that is on the horizon. So this is my brother right here. Peace, peace, freedom. How you, G?
Peace to the God. Man, pardon my tardiness, man. I was over here having some technical difficulties.
That's all. That's all good, G. I was just
We got it all
I was
worked out
just
though.
yeah, absolutely. I was just sharing with the people who are in the chat a little bit about yourself and just the importance of the work that not only are you doing in the community, but also work amongst the youth and how that represents a ray of hope or light for our future. Because when you look at any one of our movements, they looked like people like yourself, you know, younger people who were leading the
Hmm.
charge in terms of making sure that change is going to take place. So I just want to start off first. Today's mathematics is knowledge cipher, G. So how you see today's mathematics?
Oh man, God, I see days mathematics is knowledge at a cipher, and just in the simple terms, man, that's just how I use my knowledge to add on to the various ciphers around me, man, and how I use my knowledge to add on to the new ciphers. Because knowledge is the entrance into the next elevation, um, in terms of mathematics, going into knowledge, and going into the teens. So that cipher just meant the culmination of what's been manifested. So, I myself, I work to use the knowledge that I have and that I've gained in all of the various different ciphers that I have, and allow it to kind of be someone else's beginning point.
Hmm.
That's why, like in our light, the knowledge of the cipher is to enlighten you. So we use our knowledge of the cipher or whatever knowledge whatever cipher you have knowledge of to be someone else's foundation, man. So I'm not only it allows me to kind of give in the knowledge of the cipher, they always work to knowledge people in the cipher and knowledge what's going on in everybody else cipher. So it's about completion, God. It's just about completion, man. Bringing what you born back home. So that's how I see that.
True indeed. That's peace. And to add on to what you're saying in terms of the foundation, when we say knowledge is the foundation, one of the things that we're also implying is that foundation has to have integrity and fortitude because that's the basis upon which all things stand. And if that's not solid or sound, then when it comes to adding knowledge on to the cipher, that's not going to be sustainable for other people. And I think that's one of the things that we oftentimes see, especially in this day and age with social media and people having various different platforms with the various different type of ideas that they're sharing with different people. A lot of it is not sustainable because a lot of it doesn't have a solid foundation or integrity to it. And when people take it and try to apply it to their life, they see that it's not sustainable and it doesn't last long. And as the 5%, knowledge being our foundation, that's one of the things that we learn fundamentally before we get into any of our deeper studies, that you have to be a man and a woman of integrity and you have to stand on this because all of the things that you're going to learn from this point forward are going to rest upon your sense of integrity, your ethics, your sense of fortitude. And that's not the same type of emphasis that you oftentimes see with other different cultures or communities or people who have different type of religious worldviews. And that's something I think that's very important in terms of being able to express what you just added on about in terms of knowledge and the cipher. One of the things I wanted to ask you as well is, like I was mentioning to the people who are viewing right now, you're in D-Mecca, Detroit, and that's a different landscape than other different places, especially right now. Um, what's some of the challenges that you have experienced in terms of adding knowledge onto the cipher, just dealing with our people and just people in general in your geographic location?
I mean, God, I work to not only study the 123 square miles that make up the city of Detroit, but study land in general and just our people in general. And I think what makes Detroit a challenge is because I think Detroit epitomizes the minds. I think the industrial or a industrial black man and woman in America. So this is a mindset of a people who was formerly one of the most wealthiest, if not most wealthy, black epicenter in the country. This is a
Hmm.
place where that people and a lot of people in many ways grew up in wealth. A lot of black people. So you got a youth now that kind of have this entitled mindset.
Mm.
That want nice things, this fascination with materialism. So I mean, I think just like anywhere, it's obviously a challenge in today's times. But one of the biggest pieces with the youth here is just being able to show them something. These children that you could just tell anything. This is a city where you got youth and you got young people that's skilled, that's hustlers, that's slicks. That's on their game. That's in games and in hustles and in movements and emotions way ahead of their time. So I think Detroit, D-Mecca is one of those last places where you still see a lot of older guys grooming young guys.
Mm.
Especially in like the street game. So there's never been a place that had a big, huge gang influence. It's always been like, even when you study I don't want to say the organized crime, but just the organized money motion. It's always been family based. It's always been these close knit, tight groups. You know, everybody from the same neighborhood type of thing. So this was never a place where you see like I don't want to say a follower mentality, but like a herd thing going on. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. I think the youth in general all worship the same material idols. However, still some degree of loyalty to family to area, which is significant. Um, because this is not a place where somebody's gonna jump on something because it sounds good or it's just a bandwagon. So one of the biggest keys I think in the same fashion that the gods are the same way. So it's like just like the people is real close and real tight knit and real collective circle. It's like the gods kind of that kind of carried over to the knowledge itself.
Mhm.
So what the most effective teach mechanism that I've seen is when the gods is teaching in as a body and as a
Mm.
unison. You know, this is
Mhm.
one of the places where I really got to understand why we taught to teach in seeds. Why is the black seed supposed to have his brown seed? The brown seed supposed to have his yellow seed. So, and my point in saying that is when you running up on the youth and you talking to these youth, they want to see and they want to talk to more than one person. They want proof and want to be able to show and prove and see that what you saying somebody else can bear witness to, or somebody else can deal with, and on top of that, as God, it's even further importance to where it's not out of the ordinary. Not many young men or many young youth, what that knowledge you talking about that did for you? Where your money? Where this at? Where that at? Which just tell you where the mind of the youth, where the young is at. And I think not only is this here, but we can see this across. So with that, it's we are a city of guys that's even in our community of guys that's businessmen, that have businesses that's on the industrial side of things, as we all should. But that's one of the bigger challenges that I've seen.
Yeah, I would say too, being out in your area, it's a different attitude amongst our people that's in D Mecca. Um, our people have a different heart there. I've been to other different places, and in some places you can see a lot of bullshit. You can see a lot of people that may not look you eye to eye, or they're always angling, and they don't have a certain authenticity or genuineness to themselves. You don't get nothing like that from no Detroit. You know what I'm saying? And I think that it's reflective in the various different movements that were started in that area, because that is the type of people that these movements actually originated out of. And I'm speaking about Motown. I'm also speaking about the Nation of Islam as well. And, in terms of knowledge of self, you're from that D Mecca pedigree. And in our nation, we all know, when you hear that a god or an earth is coming from D Mecca, right off the rip, you know that they ain't on no bullshit. You may not be able to say that about people who are from other places because they may not have that type of reputation. But in terms of D Mecca, I think people realize that is within our nation, that this is a place where there's a certain level of authenticity and genuineness when it comes to our people who get knowledge of self in that location. And in terms of your journey, what year was it that you got knowledge of self, and what led you to getting in contact with the gods? Who was your educator and all of that?
Oh man, I got knowledge of self, God, and approximately during the and I want to say that like the summer months, man, of like 2009, 2010, early 2010, 2009. I read my big brother book, How to Hustle and Win. I was just in the dorm room, God. You know what I'm saying? That book kind of got passed off to me by I don't want to say coincidence, but just it just was meant for me to have it.
Mm.
And I moved
Self God,
to a local place.
when
Me
you
and him
said
both. Go ahead.
our self God, when you said you was in a dorm room, what dorm room were you in? Where are you at?
Oh, I was at Alabama State University.
Oh, I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
Alabama State University. Yep, sure
Oh,
indeed.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Alabama State University down there in Montgomery,
Dang.
Montgomery, old Gump Town, as they call it. So I was down there in Montgomery, and I had got this book, man. He had told me, he was like, "Yo, nephew, read this book." I wasn't really trying to hear it, but I had came to a day where I was tired of just getting high and just partying and just doing the regular rigmarole. And I just picked this book up, God. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do the knowledge to this book. I'm gonna check this book out. And God, I made a sat in my dorm room like 2-3 days. God, that was like a Friday. I came out that Monday and it was like it was on. Oh, I let Swine go that next weekend or whatever. And I was just chasing it down, God. I ended up getting Supreme's the other book, Knowledge of Self, anthology, and I just emailed everybody. I just emailed everybody back, man. So somebody emailed me back, and then you know, the God Earth, you know, rest in power and peace, man. The God's Earth Mecca. She had emailed me and connected me with True Wise, who's out in Texas. Right? Me and the God was connected and building on the phone. And the God connected me with Jihad Sealar, who's in Atlanta. You feel what I'm saying? Because I was based out of Atlanta, but Montgomery's like 2 hours away from Atlanta. So I connected with the God. Me and I hopped on the College Park train to get with the God. The God met me at the train station, and God, it was on. It was on from there. He gave me my first set of math alphabets. You know what I'm saying? And the God took me to like the 8th degree to 1 through 14. And you know, by then I had dropped out of Alabama State. I had took a name for myself. You know, at the time I was Rasi Freedom of Law. And you know, and then I want to say the summer of 2012, 2013, I moved back to D Mecca. You know, I think I got all the way with Jihad in like 2010 and 2011. I moved up here to D Mecca. And Jihad hooked me up with God Allah, and who's then Lord Zaid, who's now in Power Law, and I came into civilization class. And it was the man, what was that day's mathematics? The Build Destroy Day and Father Equality Born. Yep, 2013, 2012, because that was the year before Shasi was born. So that was 2012. And I met the gods, man. And God, don't get me wrong. I give credit to Jihad Sealar because that's my man. And the God did his duty and door for me, God. However, I met a law, walked in that school here in D Mecca. When I walked in that school on Woodward in D Mecca in Highland Park, right? The law school that we had here, the last one, God, that's when I met Allah. That's when I met Allah in the person, in the person of many gods. But that day it was the God, Dr. Baha'u'llah, bombing the shit out of me and my man, so I brought with me. This is my first day meeting the God.
Hold on.
Yo, this is my first day meeting the gods. I had never met the gods, man. They told me up. I'm talking about, man, God. I never forget that shit. I never forget it. It was just so beautiful. That's what I forget it. I mean, you know, just God, the examination, the hot seat, just all the questions, and just, you know, I had never met a man who cared more about my education than me. And not only was they about it, they was pressing. They had an attitude. It was like, yo, what is you doing? You didn't have knowledge for 4 years, and you on the Build Destroy degree to 1 to 14. I mean, what is you waiting on, bro? You know, God, how many letters in your name? God, I mean, how many holes in your face? God, you know, how long you had knowledge, God? When was the Father born? I mean, it was like, oh shit, okay, wait a minute. Oh damn, all right. I got and you know, God just, I mean, my mans, we stayed for the civilization class. My man IC gave a code class, and then this brother who I was trying to teach, who I worked at UPS with, he came in, he said some goofy shit, and he just got me out the grease and just got himself in the grease, and it was just on, and, you know, and they told that they I mean, I never seen that brother again. I ain't seen that brother since. You know, it was something, God. It was something. You know, the brother came in. We came into class. He introduced himself to everybody and said his name was AJ. And by the class was over, he started saying his name was Allah Justice. Oh man, why he do that? And it got from there. And it just was something, God. It just was a hell of an experience.
Yeah.
And you know, the guys was like, Bahu pulled me to the side. He said, "Yo, God, you know, you don't take your man home, and you know, you smoke your quality, God. Come through the house, God." And I never left. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying?
yeah,
I've been around the guys every day since then.
dang,
So it's like,
dang, G. I mean,
yeah,
you
guys. So
said
that
something,
was it for me, man.
man. I don't think that many people, especially outsiders, really understand the value of education like you just shared. And brothers that literally will put their life on the line for you to learn. They invest time with
Oh
you,
yeah.
they invest finances, they invest their life in you, you know? And that's, I think sometimes people misunderstand the seriousness that a lot of us have about this culture and why seeing people using our language or having this recreational type of attitude about our universal flag or other different things, why we're serious about that and why it's a, it's disrespectful, you know, because there's not a lot of people invest time like that in terms of the study of self in order to be connected to an organization, a culture, a nation that is here to help our people survive and thrive in the wilderness of North America and all throughout the planet Earth. You know, um, in your journey, what would you say has been when you first got knowledge of self? What were some of the ideas that you had initially about this culture that once you walked with it for a certain amount of time, you realize that it's not what you initially thought it was?
Um, I mean, God, I'm gonna tell you this, and I don't say this in a bad way, but it was a time where I thought that every God was just like, the most pure. I'm not gonna, and I think all the gods is pure in their own way. However, there was a time where I just thought gods could do no wrong, where it was like,
Yeah.
where dudes where I looked at and I still do, and I still do. I ain't saying this like I don't. Like I don't still look at the gods in a very high regard. It's just that in becoming a man, I understood, wait a minute. They gods, but they men too. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh
Mm.
damn, okay. You know,
Mhm.
even like listen, it's things I hear from listening to the tape of the father now that I didn't hear when I first know I was 120. I'd be like, okay,
Mhm.
damn, he was talking things about being a man, like, relationship problems and making the wrong decision in women. And it was a time where where knowing things like the gods and the nation of Islam does everything right in his act. It was a time I thought God didn't make mistake. God do everything right. That we always gonna do everything right. And I'm not saying that that everything isn't right. Everything that happens is in order for what's to happen anyway.
Mhm.
Um, However, I understand now, man. We God. We men. We
Yeah.
capable of mistakes. We capable of forgetting. You know what I mean? Of short stepping. You know what I mean? It was a time I thought every guy 120 every day, every month. You know what I mean? On the regular basis. And then
Mhm.
so, and not saying that that's wrong or that's bad, because we should go through 120 as much as we can.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
it was a time where I thought every guy knew every bit, every piece of everything about the history, and not saying that we shouldn't, because we should.
Mhm.
Um, but my great older brother, uh, Tamari, somebody asked him a question about something. He said, "God, I don't remember all that." You know what I'm saying? But the God dropped so much. He's a walking book of life. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? A walking book of life, a champion, a titan in this nation. You know what I mean? So it was like, not in a bad way. It was just humbling. It
Mhm.
was just humbling. That's all. It was just humbling. Okay,
Yeah.
damn, we men. Memory gonna fade. We ain't always gonna be sharp. Do that mean take away from the guy? Nah.
Yeah.
Just let me know. That said that. the reality of things. Like we say, everything is real.
Hmm.
You know, to say that would be to speak in to be looking for something that don't exist.
Yeah, yeah. And I think too, one thing that is key to our growth and development, or our ability to strive for perfection, is the fact that we stand to be corrected, you know? And if somebody points something out or shares something with you, so for example, the God in Power, he had reached out to me a couple of days ago, early in the morning, and he was building with me about this Supreme Alphabet video that I shared. And the universal flag that I put on there, the one, two, three, four, five, the sixth point on that universal flag, it had the colors inversed on it. And I didn't catch it when I put it on there. And he had reached out to me and sent me a picture of it and showed it to me. And that gave me an opportunity to correct it. He also sent me copies of the universal flag too, just in case I didn't have another one, in order to make that adjustment or to change, you know. And in knowledge of self, one of the things that I learned right from the gate is you have to stand to be corrected, and also get comfortable with being questioned, because a lot of times people live their lives, especially if they're coming from a religious worldview, where they're not expected to do anything. And people really don't have the ability to question you about anything unless you're the pastor, or unless you're on some other type of board in that religious body, where you're open to being questioned in some capacity just simply because of your responsibilities. But other than that, the general body of people, they're not walking around feeling as if they're obligated to answer people that have questions for them. And that's very, very, very different with our culture. You start off, when you're learning your lessons, they're in a question answer format. So you're being trained and taught how to be obligated to respond to people who ask you questions. And sometimes people are very, very uncomfortable with that, because they don't like being questioned about anything that they do, you know? But when used in a way where a brother or a sister is questioning you out of love, that's one of the greatest growth and development opportunities that you can ever have. But a lot of times people don't have access to any of that. When you mentioned that you were down in at Alabama State, I didn't know that. I got knowledge introduced to the nation when I was in college as well. I was in Central State University in Ohio, and the God that taught me was originally from Power Hill. He's from Philly, but the God he got it from, he got knowledge when he was in art school in Now Why, when he was in New York, and I think that's one of the things that we have in common, the fact that we both got introduced to knowledge of self in an academic setting. And one of the things that I had to learn is, when I came back to my birthplace where I live now, I had to make sure that I adjusted properly with teaching knowledge of self to people who were not learning in an academic environment. And it took me some time to actually figure that out, and to strive to meet people where they are, as opposed to having some expectations in terms of where I'm at. So in terms of your journey with teaching knowledge of self, what's one of the challenges that you've seen from coming from an academic setting and reaching our people who are interested in learning, but they're not in an academic setting? How were you able to manage that in terms of meeting them where they are?
I think the best jewel that I got in that terms, my great brothers, like especially Dr. Bahu, man. I can barely talk without talking about the God. 'Cause I understand. He's such a fountain of wisdom, man. But he always talk about keeping it simple. Keep it. God allow you to say that all the time too. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Teach it real. So that was a tough lesson for me, because coming from an academic setting, you get so used to one. give a dissertation. Especially you used to having to break it down, show and prove. Where you get what's your source, God? Where you get that from? Show and prove that. You know what author was that? So with the people, I just learned to just not one lesson was not to always have to quote where you got it from. That you don't always have to say it and such and such said this or such and such said that or this came from that, and just speaking it, just manifesting it, and being working to be conscious enough to say, well, you know what, I need to use less words. How can I manifest this, and how can I teach this using as less words as possible? Searching to find example. My big brother Ramel, he used to tell me a story about gods. He's one God that's real good at it. Being able to tell other stories and tell stories in the street world and be able to relate the mathematics and the lessons to a something completely unrelated. And then and also I found myself quoting the lessons without saying that I'm quoting the lessons. And as I began to understand, I seen that even the lessons they're wrote in the text that a man or woman who lack knowledge of self can understand if we keep them in plain terms. And as especially as of late, I've been working to just deal with that, man. Deal with the simple city science, man, and keeping it basic, and then allow a person to work their own self up to a higher degree of understanding. And I mean, I do all the time. That the quality degree in the 1 through 14, that's one of my favorites. And just keeping it simple, really telling the person, man, you don't see that our people being kept as a tool and a slave. And that's happening to us being illiterate. Just keeping it simple, God. Everything, I think a lot of us get what Khalid Muhammad used to call consciously constipated. That we get so much information and stuff that you just when you get ready to talk, you what the old folks say, you shitting out the mouth instead of just keep it and just saying it in simple terms, simple text, the least amount of words as possible, man. So that's one thing I've been shooting.
Definitely. My background is in early childhood and teaching preschool for like 5 years. That definitely challenged me to be able to put things in the most simplistic way as possible so that the babies literally will be able to actually understand what it is that you're striving to convey to them. You've done a lot of activism in terms of not only just the youth advocacy, but activism and community outreach. How did you get involved in some of the different things that I've seen you doing out there in D Mecca, like literally out in the streets and literally protesting or being involved in organizing other different initiatives amongst the people? How did you get involved in starting to do that? Because it takes a unique person to want to put themselves in a position like that and to take the initiative to do it, not to be a follower, but to take charge and say, I want to come out here and organize people in my community around certain ideas and issues that are going on. How did you get involved in that, G?
It really all came naturally, God. Me personally, even in organizing and a lot of the activism stuff that I'm into and been into for the past 4 or 5 years, I never pushed the envelope to be an activist. Like I never went out there like, yo, I want to be involved in the community. My thing was just I want to be a 5% who's involved in the community. So I like with New Era Detroit. They was having like a big ass God. It was like it was a cipher. They just ain't know it was a cipher. But I was driving down Gratiot, seeing 50 or 60 people in a circle and one person in the middle with a microphone. It's cars around, it's police in the street, and I'm looking like, who is this? I hear folks saying peace and people saying D Mecca, and I'm saying, God, this is the cipher I walked up on. So I was like, okay, I'm more so looking like, who is y'all having a cipher? Is this some guys over here? And I did acknowledge God. I did acknowledge, and they was talking about different things that was going on in the city. Women, couples being brutally raped, and gang rapings, and children getting snatched up by walking home from school. And what were we gonna do as a community? Are people just gonna sit in their house and not do nothing? And we're gonna get involved in? And God, I agree. I heard what the 5% of what we do, what we teach. I heard a talk about freedom, justice, and equality.
Mm-hmm.
I heard a conversation about community control. I heard a conversation about creating peace in our neighborhoods. This was the conversation I heard, and then I had an epiphany, and I said, "Yo, I just don't hear no mathematics and no lessons." So New Era Detroit, they used to do this thing at their meetings, where at the end of the meeting, people could raise their hand, get the mic, say what's on their mind, speak their piece. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I had put my hand up one day. So I came to the next meet, put my hand up in the air. I like something to say, get the mic, and I just was me, God. You know what I'm saying? I felt like I realized in that moment, this what the gods was training me for at the Universal Parliament.
Mm.
When the gods was saying, God, get up there and say your name, go build on today's mathematics and build on today's degree. I understood this what they was training me for. I understood that sitting and watching the gods like God Allah, and I see in the cipher for 45 minutes to an hour, and they going breaking down a topic. I understood. I realized, oh, okay, this is what they was training me for. And God, I got the mic, and it was third Sunday of the month for me.
Mm.
And after doing that, I didn't have to go approach them like, yo, I want to be involved in the community. They approached me.
Mm.
Said, why don't you come get involved with our organization? And before you know it, I'm the only one talking.
Mm.
Right, because can't nobody do it how we do it. I realized they didn't have the training that I had. They didn't have the set of skills that I had. They didn't have the science of everything in life, God. So it wasn't that. My goal was to never be an activist. I just wanted to be a 5% involved with activists and involved with people that was doing things involved with our nation. God, even if you go and look at any New Era Detroit videos, even my TPA video, they don't know I'm quoting lessons.
Mm.
They don't know where I'm getting this information from. They think this minister freedom. They don't know that God's put this in me.
Mm.
In fact, it was during this period that I took the name minister, that I took Rossi out my name, and added minister. I just came to the realization that it was my goal to marry the people onto the minds of Allah.
Ooh.
So take that mantle and marry the people. Not to mention I got qualified by the doctor, man. So it was only natural. You know what I'm saying? It was only then I had a guy. This is one of our big brothers, man, in Medina. He read my rights about my name.
Yeah.
And I it just ain't never sit right for me. So it was on the way anyway, but it just
Uh-huh.
it just came natural, God. And then
Yeah.
before you know it, I was the national spokesperson.
Mm.
And then the more you get into it, the deeper you get involved with it, it become a part of you. So now I've established a name as an activist. I've established a presence in the Detroit community as someone who speaks and who teaches and who takes certain stands. So at this point, it ain't you doing your duty. it's almost like Batman. You gonna not show and they got the light on for you, like they got the bat on. You don't want it. Batman may not want to do it, but
Yeah.
you the Bat Cave, like, yo, can't nobody else do this with me. This is my light they shine. So you
Yeah.
gotta, so it's like we in it now. We here. You stepped up to the plate. To whom is given, much is required. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
um, and which kind of fell in line with my with the motivation and the understanding to take that a step further and say, okay, I want to create a stage and be on the stage as a public speaker and continue to pursue this as a purpose and as a goal. So the activism was just, I don't want to say it was the beginning, because obviously the knowledge itself was beginning. It just was kind of byproduct of me wanting to, just having that want God to add on and teach. I just seen it as an opportunity to teach,
Yeah.
especially being at those me, God, I used to sit there and listen and would say it over and over in my mind. Yo, these brothers is talking about a good thing. They right and exact about doing certain things in the community, but you got a body full of people that's dumb, deaf, and blind, and they ain't leaving with no knowledge of self.
Mm.
They ain't leaving supreme knowledge and wisdom of Almighty God Allah. They would leave, they would come, they would get fired up, they would be emotionally involved and ready to do stuff in the community. I'm with all that, all power to the people. But with no knowledge of self, you just going back home and you still a dumb, deaf, and blind so-called American Negro.
Mm.
You know what I mean? That's why they took to me. That's why they took to what I was saying. Cause I was there and I was at the position and I was there less amount of time than any of the other people who was in that same type of position as me.
Mm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
I had something to give to people.
Yeah.
So,
Truly.
in the same respect, many people got knowledge of self from me being in New York, Detroit.
Mm. True
You know,
indeed, God.
I mean, even right now, I'm still the former vice president of New York, Detroit. He no longer with them. We are part of a new organization, the People's Action. So the
Okay.
work continuing, and that's a continuation of the relationships and the bonds that was manifested during that previous cipher.
Mm.
So it's just a continuation. I think all of us as gods and as world changers should be involved in what's happening in the communities around us.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it was a way to connect with the young, God. The young people in this time, Black Lives Matter is almost like a cool stamp.
Mm.
That- That's a kudo point. I mean,
Mm.
you could lightweight get in high school and middle school now saying you were activist.
Mm.
So what we, because I was at those protests. The last brother that got killed, and the Freddie Gray protests, and all of them, especially the last ones. I was there, God. It was young people.
Mm.
Oh,
Man. Yeah, and I'm proud to see you out there doing that because you're an extension of me and a lord of that particular world. And a lot of us are proud of you, especially the fact that you're young and that you're out there doing it because like I mentioned earlier in this broadcast, you're a ray of hope and you're evidence of a brighter future because it's really showing and proving that Allah has no set birth record, no beginning or an ending. Um, Tell us a little bit about the 5% connection and how you got started with that, the purpose of why you got involved with starting the 5% connection collaboratively with some other younger brothers and sisters, and where people can actually connect with you at if they're interested in gaining knowledge of self.
yeah, no doubt. Well, the 5% connection, God, was the understanding of a huge problem that we have on social media and on the internet in general. We got a lot of culture vultures out there, God, that's trying
Mm-hmm.
to ride the magnetic wave and the magnetic oil of the gods and the earths.
Mm-hmm.
And with the age of social media, we got nation catfishes, man. We got
Mm-hmm.
people that's Nation of Islam members, that's ex Nation of Islam members, that's want to be Nation of Islam members, but they still in the closet smoking weed and having drinks and you know, quoting the lessons and saying peace God and putting on their FOI uniform on Sunday. But you know, they you have people creating pages with our universal flag that's not in our nation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, selling our merchandise, selling our universal flag, selling hats, selling t-shirts. And when people inbox them looking for our teachings, they send them to Mas Mariam. They send them to the closest FOI establishment. Um, so with that being said, that's a huge problem.
Yeah.
You know, so we began with you know, because me, my uh, uh, you know, my professional background is in automotive sales, social media marketing, social media optimization, and what I began to realize is that the gods and us as a nation collectively don't have a controlled social media presence that's in total representation of the nation.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of social media presence of gods as individuals, but we have very little presence and representation of us as a nation as a whole. So the problem with that is, okay, because nobody's really optimizing themselves as in representation of the nation, when people go for the nation, they can't find nobody. You know what I mean? And then dig deep and you know, most likely 8 times out of 10, they're gonna find your page. Why? Because you spent years, months, and days associating yourself and your brand with the keywords that are synonymous with this nation. You know, the top two most used websites in the world are YouTube and Google, which are search engines. Okay. How a search engine works is off of keyword relevancy. Keyword relevancy is built up off of the usage of keywords over time, meaning which thus gives an understanding to how much a person is searching for a particular word or a topic. If you have a high level search of a particular word or phrase, then this can lead can it can be understood that that keyword or that phrase is therefore relevant because X amount of people in X amount of time are searching for it. So, and that's why naturally, you like I said, YouTube is a search engine. But again, like I said, no one had created a platform that was representative of the nation as a whole. And whether we want to accept it or not as a nation, the young people, they're not on the street corners no more. They not in it. There's no more discotheques. There's no more arcades. There's no more niggas don't play dice and shoot dice in the bathroom no more. People don't shoot dice on the corner. I mean, you barely can see a dice game in the hood in the projects, you know, on you know on the curb anymore. So it's like the brothers ain't getting together. You don't have rap ciphers no more. Cats don't get together and stay in a circle and sing and you know, you don't ain't no more Rudy Ray Moores. You know, niggas don't stand in the corner and shoot the jive and shoot the shit no more. You know, I'm just being honest, God. In the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, that's how it happened. This is how it went down. Everybody was in the streets. In the
Mm-hmm.
80s, niggas on the corner. That's over. That's not happening no more. Guys who got knowledge like that on the corner selling crack, posted up. The guy was on the corner too and dropped the science. So I'm just saying the youth now, they're on their phone. They're in a house, they're in school, they're somewhere on their phone, on their laptop, on their PlayStation. Okay. And they on YouTube, they on Snapchat, they on TikTok, they on Twitter, they on Instagram, they on Facebook, and they doing this more hours out of the day than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And these statistics. So it just became understandable that we had to create a sustainable methodology to capture and attract and net the people who are searching for us
Mm-hmm.
because people are searching. They are searching for us.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that we're not optimized for search.
Mm.
You know, so we created the 5% connection. Initially, the initial understanding with me and four of the gods was that to bring together a cipher where we could connect all of the young gods and earths in the nation.
Mm.
That was the original premise. That yo, let's bring together all the young gods and earths. Okay, we did that, and then it was like, okay, let's have a get together, and then that wasn't sustainable. because we don't have no money,
Mhm.
and you can't get together and then think that people are going to just fly out and get together and just it's just going to happen. So it was like, okay, well, let's just do something the weekend and show improve. Okay, cool. And then it got to a point where it went from there to like a young God and Earth think tank, to where we began to just kind of turn into this big brainstorming session.
Mhm.
And then there, the 5 or 6 gods that came out of that, we made an even smaller think tank.
Mm.
And then began to kind of toil at ideas like, how could we connect people?
Mm.
So we made a group, right? And then what started happening was all kind of people start hitting us up, coming in the Facebook group. Yo, I'm looking for the knowledge. I'm looking for the knowledge. Woo, 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 woo. And then that's when it hit me. And I was like, man, why don't we do this? And I kind of proposed the idea, and brothers roll with it, and we just pushed it.
Mm.
And then just kept working to try to elevate it. My ultimate goal was to do 2 things. Was to create a sustainable system that would work to net and to capture people that are looking for our culture worldwide, and then create an economic system that would sustain that system.
Mm.
Okay, and right, because for anything to grow, it's gonna need money.
Mhm.
Because at the end of the day, even with where the 5% connection is now, over the past 2 years, we've generated, I would say, about a little over itching on 4,000 raw leads, organic leads, no paid leads, about 4,000. I'm saying leads for the sense of anybody that's in sales can understand what I'm talking about. We generated almost 4,000 leads. Out of those 4,000 leads, a little under almost 600, we've connected with people on the ground.
Mm.
60% of those leads we weren't able to connect with simply for lack of resources. Um, Out of those, I can think of about 7 to 10 that then got 120,
Mm.
and that's in it. You taught a couple of them too. I mean, and I managed to send students to almost every active cipher in the country.
Oh, true indeed.
I I mean, I've captured people Africa, South America, Europe, Spain, Italy, Norway, Sweden. You name it. Mexico, South America,
Zambia.
Russia, Zambia, South America, South Africa, Nigeria.
Yeah.
I mean, Ghana. But the
Mhm.
problem was, to run a social media platform, God, it's going to take either 2 things: either somebody or a group of people that's so dedicated that they don't mind putting in, 4 or 5 hours a day for free
Mhm.
for as long as they can, until your site or your page get to the point to where it's generating ad revenue, or a team of 4 or 5 that's getting paid to put in the consistent work. You
Mhm.
know, um,
Mhm.
if you don't have that, I mean, I still have a hard time trying to micromanage it in the way that I am now. You know,
Yeah.
so it turned into, from there, from generating all those leads. The next step was, okay, what do you do with all these people? Because the biggest problem is, believe it or not, you get all these people wanting knowledge itself. The hardest part was finding the guys that want to teach them. I
Exactly.
done had people in New York, in Queens, in Brooklyn, and it's a, I mean, you call brothers, and all of a sudden brothers ninjas now. Oh God, I don't just know everybody, and you know what I'm saying. Sending my math, I call them, and you call the brother that's looking for the knowledge. The guys ain't called him, and it's just like it's like tag, G.
Yeah.
So it's like you got
Yeah.
other places where it's like it's a rumor of if God was there, then you calling this God to see if he know the God that's still there. Then you got some places where the guys just ain't teaching at all, where
Yeah.
they just ain't having rallies, where ain't nobody having rallies, and ain't just nothing happening. It's like 1 or 2 guys. Then you got places where it's one God, and the God like, God, I ain't really taking those tools right now. And then it's just all it's all these variables.
Yeah. And
You
that's
So
and
then
that's
it
just
turned
talking
into,
about
okay,
God. And that's just
yeah.
talking about gods. It's even more of a scarcity when it's talking about earths,
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
you know?
It's even worse.
Yeah.
Then it became, okay, what do we do? What do we do now? So then it was like, all right, let's make a closed system that we could just people to capture all the leads, capture all the information, and we'll just teach everybody ourselves. So we end up with moving everything to this app called Telegram, which is a non-encrypted app that you can create an ecosystem of chat rooms. So then we go to the Telegram. It just starts. I mean, it gets so big that you need a team of 4 or 5 people, admins, to manage it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and just connecting all these people, and then like I said, it's just so many. If the team is not dedicated to being paid, just so many variables. So then we let's break it all. Let's break this whole group, 100 people that subscribe to these Telegram chats. Let's break this down by region. Okay, that maybe that'll be easier. So we did that, and that's kind of where we left off. Where I'm still at now. It seemed like that's more sustainable, because what ended up happening is in this I created these central groups where I could capture people, and then you get all these different guys that know the teachers from different places. Then you get a conflict with them. Oh, I don't teach it like that. I don't teach it like this. Oh, you got power refinement. You got it right in zag. You got it like this, and then you got a ill ecosystem for new people. Like, damn, all they doing is arguing.
Yeah.
So it's
Okay. I don't know. The God just got cut off, but he probably be coming back in. Okay, here he is. Hold on. Yo, G, it's around. G, it's around the God hour too. I know that you got martial arts class, so yeah.
yeah, God. But I think anybody want to reach out, man, you could catch me at 5% Connection on Instagram. We still connecting people, so still hit us up on Instagram if you want to learn or want to get the knowledge. We'll definitely hook you up with the nation. That's the biggest goal, just connecting people who want the knowledge, man. So many people that want knowledge. We want to do our duty to make sure that they find us, man. They get it right, God. So
Sure.
it's still a work. Answer your question about the
Yeah.
5%.
Yeah, but
It's a work in progress, God.
yeah, I appreciate you and our other brothers and sisters that's doing that work, because if you're not doing that work, it wouldn't be getting done. You know? So yeah, God, we're gonna have to do this again. Because like I
Yeah,
said, I know that you got your
yeah,
class and
yeah. Oh, yeah. I gotta get that physical work, man. I'm about to
yeah.
head up there soon. But
Okay.
we good, though.
Okay, God. So yeah, we're gonna do this again another time, G. I love you. I
Yes,
appreciate
sir,
you,
man.
G. And definitely keep up the good work, God.
Man, you too, God. It's been an honor, man. A pleasure, God.
Likewise. Okay. We'll build, God.
All right. Peace, God.
Peace, Almighty.